Hope you're doing fantastic. So, I just want to check if my voice is clear. Anyone can confirm maybe if my voice is clear before we start. We're just going to do a recap of the pairs that we had done analysis on during the weekend, try and see what other possible opportunities we could have, or how is the market playing out vis-a-vis what we had looked at last time. Yeah. So that's what we're going to do right now. So of course I'll start without JPY. I'm not sure if we'll finish all these pairs, but in case we don't, we will continue maybe from where we leave tomorrow. Okay, but I'm going to try my best to have this YouTube live every day. I can't guarantee that, but I'm going to try my best. Okay, yes, it's clear. You good? Thanks. If it's clear now, I think we can start, right? So let me just share the link with the guys on our community and just inform them that we've started. Yeah, but so far so good. I think the week has not been very bad, and of course the week is still ripe. Today is Tuesday. As well, we're also expecting more major news events. The PPI is not yet out. The CPI, we still have to wait for all of those because they are going to have, or they're going to dictate a lot of the market direction this coming week and the rest of this week. Yeah. So make sure you're also looking at the news event so that you're not caught off guard. I think there are people who were caught off guard last week's NFP because they had thought that NFP was already on third. Is it on third? Yeah. People had thought that the NFP had been released on that. So make sure you don't get caught off guard with any news events. You can always just, when you wake up in the morning, the first thing you should always do before you get on your charts is understand, do you have any major news event that day that will be upcoming? If there is any, now know how you're supposed to trade. Some will opt into avoiding days that have volatile news events, or maybe you will be trading the London session and avoid the New York session, stuff like that. So make sure you don't get caught off guard. Make sure you look at the Forex Factory every other morning before you start doing anything. Yeah, if you've not subscribed on my YouTube, be sure to subscribe for more educative content. And any day we will be on live stream, you'll get a notification. But yeah, let's get started. So first of all was out JPY. I think we talked about this during the weekend, and I told you I'm still looking at out JPY taking this low, and I'm still positive we might take out this low. But then we also had created a supply zone here on Friday that I'm looking at market taking off, and then now that is now what we were looking out for this particular week. I can see there has been there around this region, so I'm still positive that market might react off that particular supply. And then for this particular case, you don't want to have a greedy target, because these are trade within a trade, right? We're already in this sell, so we're just capitalizing ourselves. So don't have a greedy target region. You can just target that low, or maybe that low, or you can even target this one. There's no problem if you are willing to go all that long. But for me, I'd really advise, because these are just a trade within this specific trade. Just have a small target, and after all, that is a very big risk reward, or that's about 3.9 risk reward. That's about 4% up in the event that you had a trade running for 4 on 4 hours. So still, that is a better one. Don't despise it. Okay. Yeah. Then something else, maybe Something else maybe is that is it on our JPY. In case you have a question, you can always drop on the comments, by the way. Yeah. And then the other pair is AUD-USD. So for AUD-USD, I'm still expecting to see that pullback this week. Maybe we might get there. Maybe you never know the kind of momentum we have during CPI. I've not done my fundamental analysis on CPI as well, so you never know. Market might push to pick more sell orders from there. That is what I'm looking at on AUD-USD and most pairs that have USD as the quote currency. I'm looking at price possibly taking more sell orders from that supply zone. But remember that supply zone is not a strong one because it seems to have been mitigated. Number one, because the kind of momentum you're having off there is not a strong one. The actual reason why we took these as our supplies, because we had this as a breakout structure, and we couldn't find another place where we can find price getting some bearish resistance. That as our best POI or point of interest, basically. Yeah. So let's watch and see what happens with AUD-USD as well. But you can see the nothing much has happened or the on AUD-USD. And then on Euro-USD so far as well, we took out that GP. I think we had looked at these now on Paperstone. I'm not sure. I think so. Yeah, and we were looking at a possible reversal to around this last bullish candlestick here as well. This is the same thing I've explained to you with AUD-USD. The best reason why we were looking at that is this. It's not a very strong supply because it's not actually we don't have strong bearish momentum after that candle. But then the other reason why we took it is because it had led to a breakout structure. It is in the trend direction, and you can see around here we have a very nice liquidity pool right about here. So liquidity pool, I think some of you love, maybe for those guys who have once traded support and resistance and things like that. I personally don't trade support and resistance, but I know there's a liquidity pool. Okay, so price will be looking out to take more sell orders from around here. So, and again, some other thing I told you about is the other reason why if this price might fail. Okay, it's okay to understand the reason why that price might fail to react from there is because there is price has reacted from there, in the past about 4 times from the same zone. So the reason I gave you last time, and I will still repeat, is the same. Price will always, when price tests a specific zone more than twice or thrice, that zone depletes of it or of its orders. Like unaona, let me explain in Swahili. For those guys who don't understand Swahili, I'm sorry. Like unaona price ikikam to maybe a zone na react from the zone the second time, the third time, very many times, a lot of times, orders zinaendelea kupungua from this point, okay? Because now ultimately kenye nafanya hiyo price ifike hapa hivi na isell ni juu kuna with time ita break hiyo zone, okay? The more the time price spends in a specific zone or tests a specific zone, the higher the chances of that zone getting mitigated. Sawa, okay, hata in layman's language to assume hapa hivi kuna debe ama gunia iko na mahindi, okay? You come once, you pick mahindi from the gunia with your hand. See, of course you can't pick all of them, okay? Yeah, but then if you come once, second time, third time, so unaona hiyo mahindi inaendelea kupungua, so it means the orders now get depleted with time. The more the time price tests or reacts from a specific zone, the higher the chances of it failing. Okay, I hope you have understood there. But in case you have any question, you can always drop it on the comment section. Yeah, that is it. So for our Euro USD, we're looking at that. Nothing much has happened so far. And then for GJ as well, we had marked this demand here, and we were expecting some positive reaction from the demand. We can't say we have reacts now from this fair value gap. In the event that price now invalidates this fair value gap and trades below, and you can be very, very sure that price now will keep selling. Okay, the actual reason why I did not have an execution on this pair, on this particular setup, is because look at the kind of momentum price approaches with. to your demand. The momentum was quite impulsive, right? You can see we only having bearish candlesticks, so it means there's a lot of bearish momentum, and the bears are very very strong. So after this reaction, so anytime I see market approaching a demand or a supply impulsively and not correctively, then the only thing you can do is wait to see whatever reaction that happens of that demand, for instance. Then now you can look for a small demand on the lower time frames or a fair value gap. So I prefer taking a fair value gap when I'm taking confirmation entries. Yeah, so that is what you can be opting or you can be looking out for, just basically. Okay. Yeah, fantastic. And then that is it on GJ. By the way, I don't have anything much. So you can just chill and see how price reacts on this fair value gap, but then you can see we've had some positive reaction. Yeah, nevertheless. But before I go any further, let's look at the JPY basket. It's very, very important. The JPY basket, I think, as well. This is what we had. Firstly, we had a reaction of this demand here. After that reaction of the demand, we were looking at price also reacting off the supply, and you can see we have a very positive reaction from the supply. It was a clear delivery of the supply. You see, price didn't get in there, and I think I even explained why price sometimes does not get in such supply zones when you've marked them. The actual reason is, if you look at the supply and the kind of imbalance we have below it, most at any time you have a very big imbalance and then a fair value gap above it, most at times price will react from that fair value gap. Okay, price will always react from that fair value gap, and price may never get into the supply to the 50%. Okay, are we good? Yeah, price will never get to the 50% most at times when there is a huge imbalance below a fair value gap. I hope that is home. Yeah, that is why you see we had that clean price delivery of there. So I'm waiting to see now how price reacts. Of course, now we're expecting some very very small more bullish momentum because price has reacted off that fair value gap. But then I'm also not looking at that bullish momentum getting sustainable. So I'm still looking for, now we'll wait for prices here. And if that happens, if JPY basket keeps buying, then be sure that GJ will violate these OB we've marked here. Yeah, make sure you always coincide your JPY pairs with the JPY basket. It's very very important. Yeah, that's it on GJ. For GU, same thing. I think I'd talked about these. We're expecting a reaction of the a fair value gap on the daily time frame. So nothing much has happened. Still the same thing. USD JPY. Pretty much, I'm also looking at a possible reaction from this demand here. I think that is what I told you guys. But then you can see price did not get to that demand, and price has reacted, or price had reacted from this fair value gap that is here. See, there's a positive, very positive reaction of that fair value gap. So I'm not sure if price will drop down to this demand, but for me, I have closed this limit order because my fair value gap has been mitigated. But then if you are not so strict, this could be a possible inducement. You could chill and wait and see. This is a possible inducement, and then price will drop again to pick your orders. Let's see how the CPI data will be released, and then now we'll know much about the same. Yeah, but still, I'm still remaining the same thing for USD CHF. I think was it that one? I think it was this one. For USD CHF, I think we had a very very positive reaction. Um, I think USD CHF we analyzed to look at this first one. Yeah, we had pretty much not bad. We have not had a very bad momentum this week, but then nothing is so clear for USD CHF right now. You see even how the candles are looking like, nothing is very clear. Nothing you can look up to take a trade off from. So for this particular pair, just as I said last week, you can just keep off for a while, just focus on something else. You don't have to trade every pair, and not every pair will have to give you clean some clean setups. For NZD USD, remember we had two possibilities. The first one, we had this one, was on the this was the 4 hour time frame. The first idea we had was this one here. We were looking at a possible sell from here, but you can see price violated and took orders from this supply above it. So I'm not sure how price will react of this from how price will react from this, but I'm still quite positive. You can see price has taken already about 23 pips in, so we'll just chill and wait and see how price reacts for this particular case. But then I have my stop loss in place, so there's nothing how much to worry about because I have my risks well calculated. Yeah, before you go deeper, you can subscribe to my YouTube channel in case you haven't, and you can also give this live a like. Okay, yeah, a thumbs up maybe. Yeah, then now on card JPY, we still looking at price pushing even higher to take um, more buys. I think we had talked about this, and I gave we were looking at a buy from this demand here from last week. I'm not sure, but yeah, then it activated on Monday, so we are in. I'm still looking at price taking out the high, this high. Okay, yeah. So because the JPY basket is bearish, so I'm still looking at the card JPY slightly bullish. So I'm looking out to check out this high, and even price might even continue going higher because JPY is very bullish. So I'm still looking at price taking out that high, that TP, and then trading even higher. Yeah. And then for CHF JPY, CHF JPY, I pretty much don't have much to talk about CHF JPY right now because we're still holding a trade. So we are just chilling and watching whatever happens in the market. We just have to, yeah. I don't like reanalyzing once a trade is already running, but definitely this has been a very, very long swing trade we've held for a long time from December. I think that is when I shared this on my Telegram. That's about 270 pips. Yeah, for such a pair to reward you about 270 pips is not quite easy. CHF JPY is one of the very slowest, very slow pairs, but it always has a very good market structure for you. Anyone who trades market structure, it gives a very nice market structure, but it's very slow as well. Yeah. Thank you guys for those who are tuning in right now. JPY basket already talked about that. USD CHF talked about that. Euro JPY, Euro JPY, I think from last time I showed you guys, I told you guys, it took me out fast. And then you can see we're having a lot of bearish momentum. So this pair as well, I've not spotted any other setup on Euro JPY, but in case I do, I'll share with you guys. Yeah. And then on Euro USD, Euro USD, I think I've also shared. I'm still looking at some short-term bullish momentum, and then we can take long sells. For gold has had a fantastic move from the time from last week. I think I shared these, and I told you guys, me personally, I'm not trading gold currently. I'm just watching, and it's very addictive. You can't just avoid trading it. But basically, you see, that is what we had. It's a very, very long swing trade. I showed you guys this on during the weekend, during our pre-week analysis, and you can see it has rewarded about 211 pips. Yeah, even if you are a lazy and impatient guy, could have made a lot from the same. 250 pips is at the minimum you could have made from 250 pips is $25. That's if you used 0.01 as your lot. Yeah, man, you could have made even more depending on your account size and the type of risks you take. Fantastic. So I think that's all I have um for all the pairs we had analyzed. I'm glad we actually finished all of them. Yeah, that is what I'm looking out through the week, and Yeah, so far so good. We've not had any stop loss, any now. No, we still good. Price is still driving us so nice. So we will be looking at more and more setups during the week. Yeah. Then for those guys we trade maybe day traders, and because I usually don't give a lot of day trading insights, but yeah, you can just if can spot anything. So first of all, if I was a day trader, I could be focusing on trading sessions. Okay, so the first thing I do is, now it's New York, of course. So first thing you do is draw your line on the 10, then mark your high for a London session, and then mark your low for the London session. So which is your low, because now the 10 a.m. line, 4 p.m. is here, right? Yeah. So it means this is the low that was created before, and this is the high that was created before. So you'll be looking at either of them getting taken out. Yeah. Whichever gets taken out, you can trade from to the opposite one. Yeah. And this usually works for only Euro USD and GBP USD. Yeah. I think let's just you can watch these and try and see. Yeah. Whichever gets is taken out first, the opposite might get taken out. Yeah. What if there is a demand or a supply but no imbalance? Will you still use the zone? Sometimes it can make, okay. Sometimes it can work, but then most of the times you want to see a supply or a demand that has an imbalance. Okay, something you can trade off from actively. Yeah, because most of the times the imbalance is what dictates or what draws the market. Okay, because imbalance is basically, see, imbalances are what we call fair value gaps. Okay, in other words, I explained this earlier on. I told you guys a fair value gap is basically a region where both buyers and sellers are trying to find a fair value for prices to exit and enter the market. Okay, so for instance, let me show you something. For instance, there is from here, let me just mark these as a fair value gap, right? Why price could come to this fair value gap to start buying again is, number one, there are people who sold from here, sindio? Kuna wase waliingia sell hapa hivi, walimiss kubuy opportunity wa buy, na hao wase walisell wapate place ya kucut their losses. That is why it's called a value gap, a place ama a region in the market where price is finding a fair value for prices for both buyers and sellers to exit and enter the market. I hope that point is home. Someone is saying GPB card. It's one of the pairs I don't look at most at times, but it's very, very slow, by the way. I don't. That's why I don't look at it, and don't love slow pairs. Yeah, and the price action is usually not very impressive to me. First of all, is we always start our analysis from the weekly time frame. From the weekly time frame, it's a pair. It's a pair that is currently bullish. Yeah, of course, if you go to a lower time frame, you might see that as a bearish market because the kind of momentum you're having. But yeah, it's a bullish GPB card, right? So you will be looking at points to get in the market, to look for buys, look for buy opportunities, because you don't want to trade against the trend. That is your main aim as well. So trying to look at a possible, yeah. So price had already reacted off that. That's on the 4 time frame. So GPB card is also not clear. Me, I don't want to force any setup for you guys. GPB card is not very clear. Can avoid it. Euro GPB. But in the event that you're looking for a setup on GPB card, you should be looking for buys because it's a bullish market, right? Yeah, Euro JPB as well, I can see is pushing higher, yeah, currently, but the general trend of the market is bearish. So you will be looking to spot if you can see any supplies to push. Let's check on the daily time frame. So on the daily time frame, there was this break of structure here. And then, of course, the breakout structure was created by, can mark that as your last bullish candlestick, so you can trade off that. Yeah, but then this is not a very high probability setup because we don't have an imbalance, and the bearish momentum you're having at this point is not strong bearish momentum. So this is not a very strong setup, but it could be a good point of interest. Anytime you have different setups, such a setup, you don't just you don't avoid it most of the times. You just have to learn how to trade it basically, like risk differently for different setups. So like such a setup is a medium probability. You can take half the risk. For low probability setups you avoid. For high probability setup you just take the normal risk. For instance, if you're a guy who usually risks 10% of your account, for those guys who have small accounts, in this case sasa badala ya risk 10% you risk 5%. Okay, yeah, that is what you do. For any different setups you risk differently. What are your predictions on PPI? I've not done comprehensive fundamental analysis on a PPI and CPI. I think in case I do, I will share on either the Telegram channel or on my TikTok. Yeah. So if we should not trade against the trend, what if it approaches your zone on a distributed manner? Will you trade against the trend? No, no, no. You should not trade against the trend at any point in your trading. Yeah, because trading against the trend will mess you up. Because the trend is your friend. Yeah, and you don't trade intuitions in the market. Most of the times, in case you have a trade that is against the trend, for instance, I've seen there is a possible demand on this pair, right? For instance, here is a very clear demand that you could trade from. But then you could take a trade from here, but then what you do is you make sure you minimize your risks as much as possible. Because if price decides to obey the trend, it means this zone will be violated, right? Yeah, but now if you had minimized your risk and maybe price reacts off from there positively, you would have capitalized from that move. The only thing you have to do is for every setup you have, make sure you know how to risk differently for all the setups. You don't risk the same way for all the setups. You risk differently for different setups. Okay? Yeah. And okay, for instance, and even for instance, this could also be a possible demand, right? So in the event that maybe you mark two demand zones, this is the first one, this is the second one. You don't know, you of course you'll have to find a way to check which one is stronger. But in the event that you find that both of them are actually ticking all your confluences, both of them are ticking all your confluences, what you do is you will take different risks from here. Maybe this one you can risk 0.5%, and then this one you can risk 1%. Different risks. All the setups, you never know which one plays out well. Mm. So if they are all aligning to your confluences, that is very important. Make sure they both align to your confluences. If they do, then check different confluences or just choose whichever you want to trade off from by yourself. Yeah, but basically that is it. Yeah, for those who are tuning in right now, make sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel so that you have notifications anytime I come live as well. You can consider giving this live a thumbs up or a like. In case you have a question, you can drop into the comment section. If there is none, I think we can stop from there and then maybe continue tomorrow. You can have another maybe live, not tomorrow, no, on Thursday maybe. Okay. Okay, fantastic. No more questions. So thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you for joining